Okay. Okay. Uh, I think in yesterday's class I covered friend functions. Okay. I tried to upload the video. I think it's still loading. Okay. Maybe I'll do it again. So you might get that. So for those who have missed, you can go through that. So, but that's not what should I say. We can continue with this class without that. There is no dependency on that. Okay. Okay. The functions are done. Okay. Today, I'll cover an important concept in inheritance. Okay. Before that, anyone has any doubts from any classes? Anything they want to ask? Okay. I'll take to 8,000 now. Okay. Okay. So, what does inheritance mean? What is this concept? Why we need inheritance? What are the benefits of inheritance? Everything we can cover in this class. Okay. So, what does basically inheritance mean is like you are trying to take some properties from whom you you've been created, like like that. So yeah, so for us in C++, it's all about classes and objects, right? So we only talk about the concept of inheritance with respect to classes and objects. Okay. So a class by default have its own properties or its own behaviors. Okay. Now, if it's a if it's created on its own or it was made a unique class, right? It has its own properties. Now, if someone is trying to copy something from him, okay, or they are created something similar or from a base class, okay, we would call them as derived class, or this class those class becomes inherited objects. Okay, so they actually inherit the properties of a base class from which they've been created. Okay, so in this example, we'll talk about two classes like base class dot obj and derived class. Okay, we'll talk about two classes, base class and derived class. Okay, now let me explain what is a base class. Just for our example, we'll just consider a base class is a simple class which will have its own constructor and its own destructor, and let's put some variable as part of it. Okay, this is his properties. Okay, what it does, it just has a constructor and a destructor. Okay, so we and just one object. Now, if you see here, then we can then we will talk about the constructor object. Okay. So what we have in constructor, just it just has it will just print the base class got created, and in the destructor we just printing base class destroy. Okay, so these are the very simple logging way to see how objects are getting created. Since this has some data, right, we'll just add it. Just add it for printing purpose. Okay, so that will be good. Now we will inherit the base class onto a derived class. First, let me remove this. Let's see. So what does inheritance means? You are trying to take some properties of someone and you're going to add your own properties on top of it. Okay. So you will have some property from someone and you're going to have your own property on top of it. Okay. If you see, I added one more variable here for a base class, for a derived class, uh, derived data, and I am a derived variable. Okay, as part of it. So now let me do the same thing what we are doing here. So now it also has a constructor and it also has a destructor. Okay. So in the constructor, what we'll do, we'll just print whatever that it has, so that we'll see what are its content. Okay. Now, if you see, right, how do you inherit a behavior or a property of a class into another class? Okay. So that for that, what you need to do is in when you are declaring a class. So when you are declaring a class, you just need to add a colon followed by how you want to inherit it: public, private, or protected, and the class name. We will talk about this public, private, and inherited and protected as well. Okay. So assume it's when you inherit public, right? Okay, I'll talk about it. So when you inherit any class, so whatever the members that this guy has will become part of this class. So whatever this guy has will become part of this along with what he has. So is a derived properties or derived members are okay. So say infinite. Okay. So derived members are nothing but base members plus whatever you declared inside. Okay. So this is how it becomes. Okay. Now let's let's try to create an object of them and see how what just happens. Okay. Now how do you create objects of them? It is just like normal variable creation. You declare a base class and followed by object name and derived class followed by the object name. Okay. So then you will see both the objects getting created here. Okay. So let's compile this and see what is the behavior and what is the output of that. So now this got built. Now we'll see what happens here. So when you, okay, let me clear the results. So when you run this app, right, what happens is it will just go and create a base class and try to create a derived class. Okay. Now if you see here, the base, you would see two base class objects being created. Okay, you would see two base class objects being created here. So one is part of this class. Give me 1 second. Let's stop. Hello, I'm back. Sorry. So you would see two base class objects getting created. One is part of this, and the other is part of this. Okay, and you would see a second log saying that derived created, and I am a derived variable. So it is part of this. Okay, so this object ka actual constructor gets called, and whatever that you have printed inside it, that gets printed. We can just verify it. So you would see base class created, and this is the log that we added. I am a base variable, that is part of it. Now if you see the derived class log, it is also derived created. Okay, derived created. Let me correct this. Okay, so this is how the objects get created. So what I wanted to say here is, so when you inherit any class, okay, so you don't actually need to do what, something like this, to declare. Okay, this is as equivalent to this, but what is the difference is, every time you want to access some contents of this variable, right, you would need to give the name, like some object dot data, some object dot whatever he had, whatever he had, something like this you need to give. Okay, so but this is not we wanted. Okay, uh, uh, we wanted to use them in the same way as you are using a base class. Okay, so that's the reason there is some concept like inheritance, wherein instead of creating them as a member, we are just inheriting them. So you are just saying I'm another form of this object, but with some different properties. Okay. So far on this, any doubts, like declaration or inheriting part or anything?
So by using a private domain one example,
Sorry.
this one is public. This one you have done the public one, right? Public base class.
Correct.
If you will that private base class.
I'll go to that. Okay. So
Yeah.
apart from this syntax, you are able to understand, right? Everything is fine. Correct.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what you
Yes.
generally do is you just put public and you do base class You say the name and you do the next whatever operation that you want to do. You can. So I'll show you what is it that we can generally achieve. So let me write a functions set data. What he will do is he'll just do something like this. Set base data. Okay. So I have just written a function set base data, which is member of a base class. Okay. I just written a function which set base data, which is just a member of a base class. Now I'll write a function which is not which just gets the base data. Okay. So this guy will take something and make changes to this variable. Now I have written a getter function. So this is a setter function. This is a getter function, which is part of the base class, and they are public. So public means anyone using this objects instance, they can call this functions. Okay, they can call any of this function. So people will call this to create an object. People can call this to delete an object, or the compiler to insert a delete operation. Okay, and people can call this to make some uh, data changes or setting the internal data, and this is to get the internal data. People can call this function. Okay, now we will see what we can achieve in base class. Yes. So in a derived class, I just have a destructor. Okay. In derived class, I just have a constructor and I have a destructor. Okay. Let me write some functions like set uh, set data. Okay. S- And similarly, let me write a function which can. Okay. Now we need to define, okay, what set data and what get data is. Okay. So in the base class, okay, in the base class, set data means you will get a string and you will update your local variable or derived class ka variable that you have. Okay. And when you say get base data, what you are trying to do, you are just going to get the base data's contents and it's going to print what you are just, it is just going to return whatever the base data variable that you have. Okay, so this is going to be returned. That's it. Okay, now we'll write, we'll define this function. So let's assume I want to set the contents of the derived class variable and also base class ka variable. Okay, I want to set both of them, okay, to something. Okay, now how do you write a function for this? So you will, this is the interface using which you are trying to write. Now if you see this, right, now you have received the data. Okay, now you just want to make changes to the variables. Okay, now let me see using this what and all I can assign. So now I have this data. Now let me copy the content to this and also this. Okay, now I have derived data. Using this, I'm trying to update this guy. Derived data is equal to, okay. So I can blindly call this because data is a variable which is passed from external world to him, and I can assign it to derived data. Derived data because this guy is a member of derived class. This guy is a member of derived class, so I can directly assign to it. Okay. So, but derived class, derived object, derived data, sorry, derived data is nothing but a private member of derived class. Is a private member of derived class. Okay. So I can make any changes to this guy using the functions which are part of derived class. Okay. Now, if I have to set this base data, okay. Now, what is this base data? Base data is a member of base class, and it is of type private. Okay, the base data is of type private. So can I set them? Can I set the contents of private data here or modify that? Let's see. Can we do it? See, it is not, it is showing some warning. What is it saying? Member base class base data declared line member is inaccessible. Is inaccessible. Why? And what it means is it is not visible to this guy. It is actually not visible to this guy. Why is it not visible? Because when you declare any variable as private, you are saying that this variable should be visible only to this class. Okay, it should not be visible to anyone outside. Okay, so any private variable that we create, right, is not visible to a derived class. Okay, so now what we can do? What we can do to overcome this? Okay, either we can declare this as public. Okay, now if you see, I made these changes. Okay, now I made the changes. Okay, in base class wherein I said this guy is public. Now if I see here, the moment I made this, warning has gone. Okay, the moment I made that, the warning has gone because the variables that you declare public in the base class are visible to the derived class objects. Okay, so they are visible to to the direct class object as if they are their own members. Okay, but ideally, okay, why we would not do that? Okay, because to restrict the access, like what should be private, what should not be private, is something which we would initially define. So we don't want anyone to make any changes to this in a way that this guy doesn't want. Okay, like he's taking the data and he is just copying it. Okay, whatever he has received, he is copying it. Now someone can, if you expose this to outside, right, he can uh, what he can do, he can copy it or assign it to null, or he can do anything that we don't want. Okay, so that's why to avoid them, we will give them a setters and getters. Okay, so wherein in setters you can check for some null checks and throw warnings, some limit checks, etc. Everything you can implement in your setters. Okay, similarly you can in getters, you can check, is it initialized? Okay, is it, if it's initialized, what you will do, you can return the value. If it's not initialized, you can throw some exception. Generally we throw exceptions that we're trying to get a value which is not initialized, because if it's not initialized, it can return null. Okay, or you can throw some exception, anything, any such logic that you want this class to have, you can write it here. Okay, and derived class will get that properties carry forwarded when they are trying to do any operations on the base class object. Okay, so now what is the other way to set it? We have to call the functions which do a setting. So though this guy is not visible, right, there is a function which is public. Okay, we can call all these public functions, we can call all these public functions, okay, in the derived class. So I'll just call this function. Okay, so this is a public function which is part of base class set base data. Okay, it's part of base class. So you can, it is possible to set whatever that you have passed here to here. Okay, now let's try to write a get function. Now what is the signature of a get function? It is just so now we will write a get function. What he will do is, what he will do is, he will return derived data followed by base class data. He will return derived data plus base data. Okay, this is our intent. Assume this is just an assumption, like this is what we wanted to do. So now we still see that this is showing error, like this guy is inaccessible because base variable, the base data is nothing but it's a private member of this class. So we have to use standard interface through which I can get the data out of it. Okay, how I can get the data out of it, or interface or data abstraction. How do you abstract the data out of them? So what you do is you just call this function get base the data. Now you will get a string by name get base data. Now you are going to add it with the derived content, and you are going to just return it. Okay. Now let's see what we can do. So what functions we have? We have base class dot set. So let's set base class variable to I am set. Okay, it's set to something. Okay. Now let's try to see can we print it. Now similarly, now we will call a derived class object. So, but in derived class object, okay, I will do a set base data, base value set to something through. Okay, through base object. So what I did, I just declared a base class object, which has this function base data. So with that I'm able to update the base data content. Now I also declared a derived class object. Now derived class object, what it will have? It will have the properties of base class and derived class. Okay. Now if you see, I declared derived class object. Now when I declare, okay, I can see what and all it has. It has get base data, get data. It's a combination of base and derived. Now he also has set base data and set data. So he have visibility to all of them. Okay. Now using the derived class object, let's try to assign some value to it. Base value set to something through derived object. Okay. And let's try to print it. Okay. Using this, you are trying to get just the case pattern. So derived class has set based data function, get based data function, and set data and get data functions. All the four functions he has. Okay. Now let's see. So what we are trying to do here is, it's not, we are going to set the data of both base class and derived class ka local variables to something, and let's try to print it. What happens after that? Okay, so I will repeat what we did here. Okay. So we declared base class object, derived class object, and since in the constructor we have assigned some default value, it would print some default value to it, and we are trying to override the default value set to the base class object. Okay, let me move this down. Okay, using setters and getter functions, we are just trying to set some data to base object and we are going to get it. Okay, now I have a derived class object. I just created a derived class object. Now derived class object will inherit all the properties of a base class. Okay, all the properties of a base class. Along with that, whatever properties that we defined explicitly inside the derived class. Okay, now using this, what we did is, so derived class will have its own base object. So we are going to set the contents of update the contents of base class object which is inside the derived class. So we are going to set some value into it and we are going to get it. And similarly, we will use a common function. We'll use a common function, one common function using which we will update the contents of both derived and base class object. Okay, and we'll try to get the result. Okay, let's see what happens. Let me save this. See, everything got built. What is it? Undefined. Undefined reference. Derived content. Get data. Okay. Okay. This is a public function. It is. I didn't save the file. Okay. Okay. I didn't save my file. That's all. Nothing apart from that. Okay. Everything got saved. Okay. Just now, if you see the result here, right? What is the result? We'll try to match them. Okay. So in the constructor, which is part of line number 7, so you are calling a constructor. So it is saying base class created and whatever the default value that you set here, I am a base value. Okay. That is part of the constructor which got printed. Okay. Then you did something like this: base class object set base data. Okay, so this got the base class value, this got updated into it, and you try to print it. Okay, so here you didn't add any new line. Sorry guys, I don't know, suddenly Zoom got disconnected. Now, if you see the results, right, you can match line by line. So this is our constructor getting created, and this is for base value set to something. So you are able to update some contents of the base value, and you got the print. So this is from the line number line. This is the log from line number line. Now post this in line number 13, you created a derived object. Okay. So when you create a derived object, as we saw earlier, it will create a base object followed by derived object. So it is going to say I am a base variable and I am a derived variable. So first the constructor of base class gets called, and the constructor of derived class gets called here. Okay. Am I audible to you guys?
Yes, yes, now audible.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so I'll start from this. So as per line number 13, base gets created and derived get created. Okay, now line number 14, what we did, we just called a base class ka function. Okay, we called a base class ka function through derived object. So this is a derived object. Uska function is set base data. Using that we set, so base value set to something through derived object. Okay, if you see on top, it was like base value set to something through base object. That was line number 8. Okay, this was for line number 14. Okay, we just got the data and printed. Okay, now next what we did is line number 17 and 18. In line number 17, 18, what we did, we set both the data to same thing. Okay, both the data to same thing, and we try to print it. Okay, so what did we set both data to same. This is the string that we set. Okay, this is the string that we set. Okay, now when you print, right, what should it print? Okay, inside get data, what we have, derived data plus base data. But what we did with this, so we took and assigned the same value to both. Okay, we took a string, assigned the same string to both, so it should print the same string twice. Should print the same string twice because you are adding both of them. Okay, without any space or anything in between. So now you will see like set both data to same and set both data to same being called for line number 18. Okay, so this is how you can call a base class function or a derived class function. Okay, through through a derived object. Okay, and you can make any changes that you want or that you feel that those are needed. Okay, now post this, right, after line number 18. Okay, you have line number 19, 20. What it will, compiler will do, you will put the destructors for all these objects. You'll put destructor for all the objects that you created. Okay, and how it will destroy in the like similar to stack, which got created at the end gets destroyed at the first. Okay, now if you see what got created at the last? Derived got created. So what will be destroyed first? Derived will be destroyed first. So what was created before derived? Base. So base got destroyed. Now before that, what got created? Another base class of this. Okay. Now that got destroyed here. Okay. So any questions on this so far? So how do you create a base class? And I mean, how do you create a derived class? How do you derive a class from a base class? And how can you call the functions of base class and derived class? Okay. If there are no questions, then maybe I'll explain the next part. So through that, I can exactly explain you public and private and protected members of the, what are access specifiers in class. Okay. So I think we what we did was here when inheriting what we did. Okay, when inheriting what we did, we inherited base class as public. Okay, we have inherited him as public. So when this guy is public, okay, inherited as public, all the public members of this guy is going to look like a public to external world. Okay, so all the public members, what are the public members? Setting and getting and constructors and destructors. All these are public members. So here you are able to call set base data and get base data. These are members of base class. Now, how for how long can I use it or when can I use them? So you can use them when they are inherited publicly, or I would say public members of a base class which are inherited publicly. Okay, now these guys are inherited publicly, so I can make call to them. Okay, now I'll make some tweak. Okay, now I'll replace this public with, so there are three terms: inheritance, public, comma, private, comma, protected. Okay, and we'll see the behavior how it happens. Okay, now I'll put this keyword private here. Either I can put private or I can remove. There is no difference. I made this as private and I saved it. Okay, now the base class is inherited privately. What does it mean is any members of the class, member functions or member variables will become private members of this class. Okay, they will become private members of this class. Okay, when they become private members of this class, anyone creating an object of derived object of the derived class, they cannot access them. So what you should see here, when they become private, what is it that you should see in the derived class.cpp? Any guesses? Will this code compile when we make this as private?
All the base class file will be
See the base class member functions. Okay, the base
used.
class members or member functions, they are not compilable. They are not accessible.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Okay, they are not accessible here. So that is a that is what inheriting things privately, publicly. There is a difference between inheriting something privately or publicly. Yeah. Okay. Now let's revert this. Okay. Now I reverted it back. I saved it. Let's see. See, the error has gone. We don't see any error. You should be able to compile them. You would not see any issues here. Okay. Now next one is now let me explain protected. Okay. So when you do the same protected, now what is the behavior? So the protected members when you inherit, right? It is similar to private, like the members become protected members of this class. Protected members of this class. Okay. So what does it mean is okay, that I can explain the when you create one more class, but whatever the members that you created there, right? Okay, they are still not visible here. They are not visible. Okay, so you cannot use expose the protected members to outside world or private members or protected members. You cannot expose it to the outside world. When I say outside world, it means any functions that you write, like main or some other functions that you write. Right? They are called as the outside world, which are not inside the class. Okay. Now we will see one more difference. Okay. So public means any members of the base class will be visible to the derived class. Private means any private members that you any members of a base class will be part of the class but will not be visible to the outside world. And what does protected means? It is similar to private, wherein the members of the base class will still not be visible to the external world, but it will be visible to the it will be visible to but it will be visible to any second order derivations that you do. Okay, now what did I do here is I created one more class. Okay, I created one more class like second derivative, like how we have first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation. Like that, this is second uh, order derived class, which is going to inherit derived class. And derived class is what it is again inheriting base class. Okay, so you can say this as parent, child one, or grandchild. Okay, parent, child, grandchild, then something else, grandchild. That sequence you can go on and on. Now we will say here. Okay, this guy can also have some functions. Let's For a moment, we will just implement this. Okay. Now what we'll do is we will just write implement this get second order data function. So say get second order data is nothing but he is a member of a second order data class. Here we will see what and all data is visible to him. Okay. Now what he should return? He should return second derived data plus derived data plus this. This is our expectation. Okay, this is our expectation. Okay, that he should return all three content. Okay, he should add all this and return. Okay, but if you see, you are seeing errors here because if you see derived data is a private member of derived class. Okay, so how do you access derived data member? You cannot access a private variables, but you can use any public functions, okay, through which you can extract the data. So these are called data extractions techniques. So using which if you have any written any getter functions, you can do this. So I can just blindly call this function. Okay. Now what is get derived? All right. Now derived data is a public function of this class. Now derived data is a public function of this class and I am inheriting publicly, so it's directly visible. There are no issues in this. There are no problems in this. Okay, it is simply compilable. Now what I want is base data. Okay, now I want base data. So can I get the base data? What are the ways to get the base data? Either you can call the variable, but the variable is private. Okay, so you cannot use it. So, but is there any public functions that are available? Now let's see what functions we have. We have get base data. Now get base data is a public mention of this class. Okay. Now we'll try to use it. See, this is absolutely visible here and you can compile it. Okay. Now, sorry. Now this is absolutely visible and you can compile them. Okay. Now when you inherited, okay, derived class, you inherited it publicly. Okay, so all the public functions of this are visible here. Okay, but when you inherited when you declared derived class and you inherited base class, you are inherited it as protected. So this guy is able to access get base data function. Okay, this guy is able to access get base data function and he's able to do whatever he wants, but you still see get base data is not visible to the outside world. Okay, it is not visible to the outside world, which are not classes. Okay, which are not classes which are derived from him. Okay, so get base data is not visible here. Now if I declare one more class, okay, Okay, which is not inheriting anything. This guy is not inheriting anything. Okay, but here I am trying to call get data. See, first of all, get data is not even object of this, and he is not visible. Okay. Now let me create a derived instance of this and see whether using this can I call him. Okay. Now what is this derived by object? DB object is nothing but a derived class through which I am trying to call get base data. Through which I'm trying to call, but it is not accessible. Why? Because you are you this class is inheriting base class as a protected members. So when you inherit any class as protected members, the members of this class are visible only to the derived class and its sub derivatives. Okay, or the next order derivatives. Okay, now if you see here, I created a class, some class. Inside that I am creating one more object, and I'm trying to use the base call function of this, and I'm not able to make any changes to this guys. Okay, I'm not able to call this. Okay, this is one limitations of this. So that is what the difference between public and private and protected members. Okay, are you guys clear, right, on this public and private and protected so far?
The voice is not audible.
Uh,
Again, it is breaking.
okay, so you are not able to hear me for whole class, or so Sakalya, you are not able to hear me for whole class, or how is it, or only now?
No, no, no. It's last 2 to 3, last 2 minutes.
Okay, 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 okay. Uh, so you guys have any doubts on this public, private, protected so far? You guys are clear, right? Public, private, protected. What does it mean? So I'll repeat. Okay. Public means whenever when you declare a functions as public, functions or members or variables are public,
Yeah,
they
understood.
are absolutely visible outside this class. They are absolutely visible outside the class.
But
Any member.
the voice is
Sorry, is my voice still breaking? Okay. Sakalya, is my voice breaking now? I just joined back.
yeah.
It's still breaking, or hello? Am I still breaking, or you guys can hear me?
Is now and yes. Yeah.
Okay. If the voice is continuously breaking, right, maybe I'll resume tomorrow on the same. Okay, so I don't want to do it incompletely. You still see any breaks in my class, in my voice?
No, now it is fine.
Okay. Okay, maybe I'll just revise them. Maybe rest I will cover tomorrow. Okay. So public, when you say public, all the members are visible to outside world. So whenever you declare anything as private, they're not visible outside the class. Okay. But when you declare things as protected, okay, or when you inherited anything as protected, or you declare any members as protected, those members are only visible to the derived derivative objects of the class. Okay, so in the base class we just declared public and private. Okay, now we never declared anything as protected. It's declared some function, okay, as protected. What he will do, he will do nothing. It's what he will do nothing. So we'll just write some, some protected function here. Okay, so this is just a some protected function which is part of a base class. Let's see who and all can call this. Okay, so can we call a protected function by a derived class? Okay, so inside derived class, we'll try to call him. See, we are absolutely able to call. We are not seeing any issues here. Okay, so this is a protected member which we are trying to call in derived class. So all public members and private members are visible in the
But again,
derived
it is
object.
breaking. Sir.
Okay, man. I think it's better we'll do it tomorrow. We'll resume this tomorrow. I don't know what is the issue. I've connected directly over LAN.
Voice is breaking. Sir.
We will do it tomorrow, man. Then we'll resume tomorrow. I don't know why it is breaking again and again.
Yeah, I can. Okay, okay,
We'll do it tomorrow. Is it fine for all? I'll resume this.
okay, 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 okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you guys can hear me now. Fine. Hello. Guru or Sakalya. You guys can hear me?
Yes, yes.
No, no breaking, right?
No, no.
Okay. Okay. We'll start from where we left yesterday. I think yesterday we were talking about public and private and protected. I was just trying to do some revision. Okay. So, so private members of a class are some which are completely private to the class. Okay, they cannot be accessed from anyone outside the class. Okay, from anyone outside the class, you cannot access them. So these are private, whatever that you undeclare or something which you present as declared. Okay, then you have something like protected members. What are protected members? Protected members are something which are visible to only the derived items. So you have a base class with a protected member. It can be a function or it can be an integer, or you can declare a static integer or anything, static variable or anything. Okay, if once you say it as protected, right, it is visible to only its derived classes. Okay, it's only visible to its derived classes. So the base class is again inherited as protected. So you can call the protected member of this class. Okay, since the base class is imported as protected, okay, anyone importing derived class will also have the similar uh, properties, like any functions which was imported as protected will be carry forwarded as protected. Okay, so if you see the function sum protected, okay, you can call them here. You would not see any error. You would not see any error. Why? Because the protected member was inherited as protected, so the result is also protected. Okay, by any chance you are trying to override this, or you want to increase one more security level. Okay, the moment you made this as private, so all base class members which are public and private, all base class members which are public and private, they will become private members of this class. Okay, because the base class itself is private. Any functions which are uh, mentioned as public and protected, they become private members of this class. So you will see errors saying that you cannot use any members which are part of this class. You would see some protected, which was a protected member, is not compilable. It is inaccessible. Similarly, get base function is a public method which is not visible here. Okay, so it depends on your implementation, how you want to expose what you want, whatever that you want to do to the functions, to the external world. It clearly depends on that. Okay, I hope I'm clear on that, right? You guys have no doubt on this public, private, and so maybe we'll create an Excel sheet on that.
So yesterday, sir, yesterday I have, yesterday you have gone to that sum class, right? So can you explain that one? Sum class means if you go for different class, right?
Some
Yes.
this one. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Some class or some other class. It is like
Mm.
some other object that you are creating. That's all. Okay. It's an other object that you are creating. Inside this, okay, you created object of type derived. Okay. What is derived is an object of this class. Derived is an object of this class. Okay. Sun is not inheriting any properties. It is not inheriting any properties. So in some class, you can call D objects public functions only. Okay, you can call only public functions. Now let's see D object. Okay, D objects get base. See, this guy was declared as public. This guy is declared as public. So, so you are able to call
So
them. You
if
don't see
that
any
base
issue.
class is public, we can call. If that is private and protected, we can't call in that
See,
also
where
class,
is
right?
in base class ka what? In base class ka member
Mhm.
functions. If the base class ka member functions are public, only these things you can call in a other class, which is not derived,
Okay.
which is not derived. Okay, because this also becomes external world to him.
Mhm.
This also becomes external world. Here you are inheriting your property. So this guy becomes like this guy, you are defining him as this. Okay, you are defining him, he is him plus something, because second derived is nothing but him plus something. Okay, now in the same sum class, we'll try to call the protected members. Okay, see, this is not visible. The protected function is not visible. This sum protected method is not visible here. Now I try to call it. Now you see an error saying that sum protected member is not visible to this guy because you didn't inherit the object. You didn't inherit derived class properties. Rather, you created an object.
Mhm.
Rather, you created an object and you are trying to use it. So this itself becomes a uh, what should I say? Out external world.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, by any chance you want to give access to him. Okay. By any chance you want to give access to him, there is a technique by name friend. Okay. You can say this guy is a friend to me. This guy is a
Mhm.
friend to me. Let's see what happens if I put this guy as a friend here. Now, some class is declared outside. Okay, let's see. So I just declared some class as friend. Okay. Now you see, you don't see this error. What does friends means? I think you didn't attend the last class, so just I'll tell you. So friends are external members which can have access to all the members of the class, whether it's public, private, or anything. You can just call them. Okay, you just need to create an object and you say this thing. Okay, you can actually call them. So now let's see whether you can call this, whether you can call this in the main. Okay, now in main, what do I have? Base class, get base data, and all I have. Now let's see, we will do something here. Okay, now I have a object by name base, and I have a public function which I'm able to call. I don't see any issue at all here. Okay, now if I want to call the protected members, I try calling them. This is not acceptable by the compiler because this guy is not a friend of him, but this class is a friend of him, so I can call him. Okay, now this guy is not a friend, right? So he's not able to call. Now if we make this guy as a friend for him, is this visible or not? We'll try it. I copied this guy, I went here, I pasted it, Charas. Then we'll see what happens here.
So you have to mention that friend, right? Friend name. Friend
Sorry,
is
sorry.
name.
So I'm waiting. So I mentioned friend
Means
into main.
if you want to do any friend class means inside the base class we need to do, right? Then we need to
So
do.
see, I am calling what sum protected.
Hmm.
Sum is what of what? Sum is the sum protected is a member of this
Okay.
class. So I'm adding here.
Hmm.
Now you can cut this here. See, cut this here and add in the derived. Add this in derived. The same thing I can add it here. Okay, but only thing is that you just need to call, you just need to create an object of type derived. Let's see, did I cut here? No, it's not cut. So I deleted those friend functions from the base class. Now I added them as part of the derived class. Okay. Now in derived class, what you're trying to say, base is a public. Okay. So all public and protected members will become visible, but private will still not be visible. Okay. Now some class and main, are they able to make a call to some protected? We'll see. See here, this is a base class, so we are not able to call. Now we'll do this. Now we will do the same operation on a derived object. Okay. See, derived object is trying to call protected function of a base class. Using derived object, I'm trying to call a function which is part of a base class. It is purely doable. Why? Because we inherited this guy as public. We inherited this guy as public, so we can call him. Now, what if I make this private? I made this private. Okay. What am I seeing here? Right. Now base class is private. Where am I getting error now? Ah, here get base data is gone. Okay. Now, no. Where is this? Okay, this guy is still able to see him. Let's compile and see whether this actually works. This one error. It's okay. We'll do this. Comment this guy. This error is gonna. We'll comment here. Yes, beta. This error is also gone. Okay. It is absolutely compilable. Okay. So what we did is, using derived object, we tried to call a protected function. Okay. We tried to call a protected function of a base class. So just we made the derived, we declared some derived functions. Sorry, we declared some functions as friends to a derived class. What did we do? We declared some functions or some classes as friend to a derived class. So this is pushing back everything to the base class also. So using derived class, these are accessible. Okay, but you should see the trick. This is not accessible. So if you are creating a base object, okay, whatever you mentioned in the base class, only this thing you should see. Here, did I declare him as friend? No. So you should look at the properties of the base class when you do something like this. Okay. Now, but what we did here, we used the derived object. Using that, we called a protected function. On a derived object, I'm trying to call a protected function of a base class. Okay. Okay, which now what he did is here what we did in the derived class, we violated all the public, private, and protected concepts, or we took away that access restrictions that access specifier gave. How? By just declaring friends as members of this class. So we made some class and main as friend. So in both the places, you are able to access the protected members or private members of this class. Okay, am I clear on this?
Yeah,
Because
but we can do the in base class also, right?
we
And
can do this
using
in base
this
class.
friend.
I'm
Yes, yes.
I'm not denying it.
Mm,
See, this
mhm.
is ये सभी tricks है. Tricks
Okay, okay.
you see our C++, what does it offers? It offers security. Okay,
Mhm.
it offers security. Now, if you go and put that in base class, you are removing the security. Okay. When you do a structures, right? In structures, what you can do, you can do memset. Okay. When you do a memset of a structure, everything you can assign it to some content. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, you can do. Okay. But you
Mm.
cannot do a memset on a class. It will just crash. Okay. There are a lot of difference because uh, you have a constructor for it. You can have pointers, v pointers, and all. There are a lot of things that class offers, which is completely different from a structure which is part of C. Okay, so it's all this public, private, and all, right? You guys can take this as an example and do some exercise on yourself or trick, play around this public, private by yourself. That I can explain because this permutation combination itself 2027 combinations are there, so you can violate any of them as well using different ways. Okay, let's save this. Let's see if there are any errors. I'll remove this. Okay. I'm just reverting something so that how can we achieve this? How can we achieve this? Like, can declare a base class and call the protected functions. How can we achieve this? Achievable by declaring.
Mhm.
So
The friend, right?
base class ka protected
Mm.
functions we can do it. How? By saying something. I think by
No,
declaring
by
it.
using that friend.
Yeah.
Uh,
Friend. What
yeah,
you need to
that's
declare
a
it as friend? What is it that you need to declare as a friend? Friend में what are you trying to say as friend?
that uh, that main class or else what
So
are
is
the
main
base
a
class
class
you
or a
can call?
function?
Oh, sorry, main function.
Okay. Now you are declaring main as a friend, but where?
Hmm.
Where you should declare? By declaring a friend into
Mhm.
main in where? In which class you need to declare?
In base class only.
Correct. So you are declaring.
Yeah, base class.
Okay. Now let's answer this one. How can you achieve this?
This derived class, right?
Hmm.
By using this friend only.
By declaring
Mm,
friend into main in
in
where?
derived class.
In derived or in base class?
Um,
Base class or derived?
derived.
Because this is this. And in
And that base class should be private. Then only you can do this one.
no,
If
no,
that is
public or private, it
public,
doesn't
then
matter. See, when
doesn't
you
this.
declare
Okay.
someone as friend, okay,
Mhm.
to a friend, there is nothing like public, private, or protected. Friend has access
Okay.
to
Okay.
everything. It's just like friend.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay.
No, I thought that you've done that public base class. Then only that gate based data has changed, no?
See,
Or else it is getting error.
when you declare things as public, right, everyone can see everything.
Mm.
Okay. Now we will do this. D object dot sum protected. How we can do this? Derived object. In derived object sum protected function, how we can call? Achievable by declaring a friend. What you need to declare a friend? So I want to make a call to this D object of sum protected. Okay. S- So what is it that I should declare? As of now, this is not a compilable code. How can I achieve it? Achievable by declaring a friend. What you need to declare a friend?
Mm.
See, whoever is calling. Okay, who is calling this? This
Yeah,
function is
this
called.
some class.
Mm. You
Mm.
can declare achievable by declaring a
This some class. Yes.
class sum as
Mhm.
a friend, or there is one
Mhm.
more option. See, you can declare the whole class as a friend, or you can declare the whole class as a friend, or you can just declare this function
Mhm.
which is member of this class as a friend. So how we do that? It is using this. You can do this also. Okay. So it's nothing but
Okay,
another function, right?
by
Hmm.
using friend, we can call the class also. We can call the function also, right?
Uh, friend, I mean, you can make a class as a friend or a function as a friend.
Okay. Yes. Yes. That one.
You can make a class as a friend or a function as a friend as
Right. Right.
well. Okay. So I'm just pushing this with a commented guys. Okay. You guys can explore this thing. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's a trial and error. All these things you need to do because in interviews, if you have MCQs, right? If by any chance you are taking some multiple choice questions, there will be definitely one or two questions on this. Okay. So okay. This just pushing this part. Let me push this. So I think we'll join back, disconnect and connect back, so that I think it is going to uh, stop in few seconds. I think it's going to get disconnected in few seconds. Okay, I'll stop and join back in just 20-30 minutes. I'll end the meeting. You guys can just join back again. Okay.
Okay.